In the world of American football, the term Hail Mary describes a team that is on their way to defeat who are making a last-ditch desperation play in the pursuit of victory. However, the term is just as, if not more, applicable to combat sports. This is because one of the most unique aspects of fighting is that regardless of how many points one combatant has racked up throughout the course of a contest, a fighter on the receiving end of a beating can turn things around in an instant with a well-timed strike or unexpected submission attempt. These fighters never stop trying, and defied the judges by pulling off some of the most spectacular comebacks in the history of MMA. I'm Gareth from WhatCulture Combat, and here are the 8 greatest Hail Mary victories in MMA history. Number 8. Robbie Lawler vs MELVIN MANHOEF. One of the most explosive fighters in the history of combat sports, MELVIN MANHOEF has proven time and time again over the years that he has the power to knock out just about anyone he comes up against. MANHOEF is a natural middleweight and had no problem absolutely flatlining Mark Hunt, a UFC title challenger at heavyweight with one of the best chins in the history of mixed martial arts. So when MANHOEF faced Robbie Lawler, another man who certainly isn't afraid to engage in a firefight, at Strikeforce Miami, it seemed only a matter of time before one of the combatants was rendered unconscious. MANHOEF enjoyed more success in the beginning of the fight, blitzing Lawler with strikes after a tentative start and going in for the kill at the earliest opportunity. However, Lawler was still in the fight, and when MANHOEF advanced carelessly, Ruthless made him pay with a vicious right hand and follow-up strike to complete the comeback. Number 7. Anderson Silva vs Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen vs Anderson Silva at UFC 117 is one of the greatest fights in the history of mixed martial arts. Sonnen had emerged from relative obscurity to become one of the most feared contenders in the 185-pound weight class, thanks to his relentless wrestling-based offense and impressive cardio, earning the right to face the then untouchable Spider with the UFC gold on the line. The trash talking prior to the bout had set expectations for the fight to an almost unrealistic standard, but the action inside the octagon still managed to leave fans worldwide in shock. Sonnen was true to his word and put a beating on the champion, never letting him get comfortable enough to unleash his feared striking arsenal. Sonnen had earned a comfortable lead on the judges' scorecards going into the 5th round, and seemed en route to clinching the middleweight title in one of the biggest upsets in the history of MMA. Silva wasn't done yet though, and with just minutes remaining threw up a triangle choke from his guard that captured the challenger, and forced him to submit in the closing stages of the final frame. Number 6. Todd Duffy vs Mike Russo. Physiques aren't always correlated with success. I mean, sure, looking like a Greek god is a good indication that a fighter is in good condition, but over the years, guys like Roy Nelson have proven that having a six-pack isn't the be-all and end-all of professional fighting. Still, based on physiques alone, you'd be forgiven for thinking that there was no way that the average-looking Mike Russo stood a chance against the Adonis-bodied Todd Duffy when the two met at UFC 114. And for the first 2 rounds, it appeared that the Herculean Duffy would live up to his reputation as one of the hottest prospects in heavyweight MMA at the time, as he peppered the seasoned Russo with strikes. With defeat imminent, Russo turned the tide in the final round, knocking his opponent out with a pair of right hands, and following up with a hammer fist that admittedly was more akin to a door knock than a brutal finishing blow. Number 5. John Howard vs Dennis Hallman. The bout between John Howard and Dennis Hallman at the Ultimate Fighter 10 finale was the classic prospect versus veteran matchup, with Howard being viewed as a potential contender at 170 pounds, and Hallman, a former UFC title challenger, looking to re-establish his position in the welterweight division. Howard was the betting favourite going into the fight, with many viewing the then 34-year-old Hallman as having passed his prime as a fighter. He would therefore simply serve as a stepping stone on his opponent's ascent up the ranks. However, Hallman turned back the years in an impressive performance that saw him dominate the first 2 rounds with his gritty fighting style and impressive wrestling. Hallman continued his domination in the 3rd, leaving Howard needing a finish with the seconds ticking down. After getting back to his feet, Howard walked forward recklessly and swung for the fences, catching Hallman in the dying moments of the bout and earning one of the most impressive victories of his career at that point. Number 4. Shonie Carter vs Matt Serra. Though his MMA career is predominantly remembered for his shocking knockout victory over Georges St. Pierre to capture the UFC Welterweight Championship in 2007, the New York native was once primarily known for his submission skills, and earned his way into the UFC with 4 consecutive tap-out wins on the regional scene. His opponent in his UFC debut was Shonie Carter, a veteran of 28 professional fights with a fondness for flashy, unpredictable striking. So when the pair came came together at UFC 41 in 2001, both men came into the bout attempting to bring the action into their preferred facet of mixed martial arts. In round 1, SERRA was successful, controlling the action using his grappling skills. However, the second round would see the momentum go the other way, meaning that the final round would prove to be the deciding one in the eyes of the judges. SERRA once again controlled the action, but with just seconds remaining in the third round, Carter unleashed his trademark spinning back fist, connecting his forearm to the head of his opponent and rendering SERRA unable to continue. Number 3, YAIR Rodriguez vs Chan Sung Jung. The bout between YAIR Rodriguez and the Korean zombie Chan Sung Jung at UFC Fight Night 139 promised to declare the newest contender at 145 pounds. Both fighters came into the main event looking to cement themselves as potential title challengers, and the pair's fan-friendly fighting styles led many to speculate prior to the fight that it was going to be a war at the event that marked a quarter of a century since the inception of the UFC. The pair kept up a frantic pace throughout the 5-round fight, with the Korean zombie up on the judges' scorecards going into the final 5 minutes. Then, when the clappers sounded to signify that there were just 10 seconds left, YAIR goaded the zombie forward before catching him with an innovative back elbow that left the South Korean slumped on the canvas. With just 1 second left of the scheduled 25 minutes, the fight will likely forever remain as the latest finish in a 5-round fight in UFC history, and one of the greatest knockouts in the history of the sport as a whole. Number 2, MIESHA Tate vs Holly Holm. When Holly Holm ended Ronda Rousey's reign at the top of the UFC women's bantamweight division in violent fashion at UFC 193, many believe that if the former professional boxer could put in a similar performance in the rematch against Rousey, she could keep the crown for years to come. So when news emerged that Holm planned to stay busy by defending her title against MIESHA Tate in the meantime, many assumed Holm would continue her undefeated record. After all, Tate had twice been finished by Rousey, and didn't have nearly as much success as Holm in the striking exchanges with the former champion. However, one thing that Tate displayed time and time again throughout her fighting career was her impressive ability to persevere. At UFC 196, Holm dominated the majority of the fight, with Tate having moments of success but still being in desperate need of a finish to capture the belt going into the final round. Then, with just 2 minutes remaining, MIESHA took her opponent's back and started desperately searching for a rear naked choke. Holm defended valiantly, but Tate managed to secure her forearm across the throat of the champion, rendering Holm unconscious with just 90 seconds remaining. Number 1, Scott Smith vs Pete Sell. One of the most visceral knockouts in all of combat sports history, Scott Smith's comeback against Pete Sell is so iconic because it captures the essence of a Hail Mary strike in the space of seconds. The pair's bout at the Ultimate Fighter 4 finale was an all-out war, and was likely already destined for Fight of the Night honors before the finish elevated it to a whole new level. In the second round, Sell landed a picture-perfect left hook to his opponent's body, causing Smith to curl over in agony and retreat back to the fence. Even a casual viewer could tell Smith was in excruciating pain from the strike. However, Sell was a bit overzealous in his advances, leaving himself wide open for a perfect counter right hand from Smith, resulting in a knockout. Smith's selling of the body shot has often been retroactively mischaracterized as him playing possum, but the sight of Smith still wincing in pain immediately after the ref called the fight should be enough proof that this most definitely was not the case.
It's all been leading to this. Every session, every hit, every setback. Yeah, I'm excited. It's a chance to show off my skills. Show off what I've been working for years, my entire life, but I'm not taking it lightly. It's only upwards from here, but I'm not thinking about that.
None of them are ready. Yeah, I'm confident. I've put in the blood, the sweat, the tears. Now it's time for the fun part.
The hell are you doing?
I'm doing a lift.
Don't forget to head on over to WhatCulture Combat right now and click on that subscribe button. We've got lists, we've got predictions, reviews, and loads more to come. Again, head on over to WhatCulture Combat, click on that subscribe button, and don't forget to ring that bell and enjoy all things combat sports whenever you want. See you soon.